Hi, this is Karen O'Brien, and we're going to be starting a video on MapCrafter. With MapCrafter, you need to start by setting the coordinate system to the coordinate system of your project. I'll be using the self-help kit, and the self-help kit coordinate system is Arizona 2223. Now, with MapCrafter, you can either load it on a project that is a FLO 2D project, or you can load it onto a map that is not a FLO 2D project. So this is just testing it on a map that's not a FLO 2D project. Here's the MapCrafter plugin. If you don't have it, just go to your plugin manager and search FLO 2D and install MapCrafter. While you're at it, get Rasterizer too. Then when you run MapCrafter, the first thing that you'll do is you'll point it to the location where your project is. So my self-help tutorials are here. I'm going to try lesson 6. And I'm going to delete this, and then I need to check and be careful because I don't want my path to be MapCrafter. I want my path to be self-help results. Once you open a project, it will highlight and navigate to the map that project goes with. So these 4 right here: flood maps, sediment maps, mud flaps, and two-phase maps. So this is regular flood mapping and urban mapping, sediment transport, mud flow modeling or mud and debris flows, and this would be tailings dam two-phase maps. Okay, so we get site characteristics of ground elevation, depths and velocities and velocity vectors, derived, which would be depth times velocity, and if you hover over the label, you'll get what that variable is and what file it's reading from. The time to 1 foot, time to 2 foot, time to max. If you have a metric model, it's still time to 1 foot, it's time to 0.3 meters. Okay, so that's, you kind of have to just know that. Channel maps, structure maps, hydraulic structure, and hydraulics maps. So I'm just going to check available and click create maps. I don't recommend doing that if you have a really large project because that's going to take a long time. When the maps are added to the canvas, the only one that's actually activated and turned on is ground elevation. So everything else is turned off. And then the next thing that we want to do is just start looking at some of these maps. So this is your grid element elevation. Maximum depth. Note that it doesn't have the channel in it. So if you want the channel, you can do that, and that's your channel maximum depth. Maximum velocity, and then your channel. Let's open this up a bit so we can see this. This is your channel maximum velocity. There's also final maps, final depth, final velocity, final channel depth and channel velocity, and there is velocity vectors. So the velocity vectors might look like, I don't like the way that they are drawn when you go in here. So one of the things that you can do quickly to make these look better is change their style. So velocity vector style is an SVG marker. It's just an arrow. And the first thing that I do is I unlock and I set the width equal to 2. And then that will make them thinner. And then I set the length equal to what it's setting it to is the field of velocity. So the length of the variable will be the velocity, converted to millimeters, sort of. So 1 cubic foot per second would be 1 millimeter. Or no, I'm sorry, 1 foot per second would be 1 millimeter. But you can modify that because sometimes that doesn't really make a very good map. So you can modify that and you can set the velocity to like say times 2 or maybe times 0.5 or something like that. So you have some control over that. So if it was final velocities, I might make it times 2 or times 10. But if it's regular velocities or they're high velocities, I might get times 0.5. So in this case, you can just leave them as is because this urban project has pretty decent velocity. And the next thing you want to do is turn the stroke width off because we don't want a stroke. We don't want the outline of the arrows. So click OK, click Apply, and that will should make your velocity vectors look a lot better. And so you can now start to tell some of the colors and things on those. You also control these colors if you want to choose a different wrap. You control these colors. So if you want to add some background to this, you can grab, your Google map and add your Google map to that. And if you want to try to do some other things, you can, like I can grab my ground elevation and my maximum water surface elevation, and I can use a tool called the Profile tool. That's a plugin, another plugin. It's called the Profile tool. And you can add these maps. I'm going to add the ground layer here, and I'll add the maximum water layer here. And I'm going to take the ground layer and make that dark. Make that black, and nope, sorry, that's supposed to be black, not. And then I'll make this blue or purple, whatever. I kind of like purple because it shows up nicely. And then you can, if you click on, like this is a basin right here that's full of water, so if you click like that, then you can see a profile of the basin, and you can get this as a profile or as a table. Now the table, and you can export to the table or copy the table with or without coordinates, or you can create a layer, a temporary profile layer of this profile. So you can do a lot of things with this plugin. It's really excellent, but screenshotting or exporting your video is one of the things you can do. And then watch what happens to that little red dot up there as I move my map along the cursor. So that's how you would get a profile across your floodplain. Okay, that's it for that. Let's maybe turn these two back off. And then this is your time to max, time to 2 foot, time to 1 foot. Now, if you don't have cells showing up in the time to 1 foot, time to 2 foot maps, that's because they didn't get up to that depth. And then one of the things about the time maps is that they're kind of, you probably need to modify them. So if you double click on these, see, because my model only runs for 10 hours, so I kind of need to cut it off at 10 hours. So what I would want to do in that case is, I guess, probably cut out all those classes and reposition this. But that's actually kind of difficult, because as soon as I do anything to this map, it kind of messes things up. So this particular label system or classification system, we spent a lot of time making it, and so in giving it proper appropriate labels. So what you can do instead is you can save it, and you can save it to style levels text. Let's actually put this, let me click no, self-help tutorials, MapCrafter, yeah, that's fine. We can put it there and click yes, and then you can go into that. Let me grab that file real quick, and you can modify it. First of all, I would take these stupid things out because they're not necessary. Okay, and then you can take some of these out and maybe change and pop them back in, and then change the colors on them. So like I said, my model only runs for 10 hours, so I can just do it like that, and then I'll save that, and then I'll go back to here, and let's just try to open that and load it. And that should have taken those colors out. And now if I click apply, that might change the color mapping a little bit. I don't know why some of those stopped showing. Maybe I have more than 10 hours on this run, but I think I'm running for just 10 hours. And so you can see that, some of these, if they don't have a plot or they don't have a color, that might be because it's not stretched far enough. We need to go to like 10.1 hours or something. So you can do simple fixes like that, or you can make it like, let's say 10.5 or something. Yeah, there we go. It was probably because it had 10.001 hours was the final time was probably what happened there. And that's how you kind of can set these maps and like make them your own. And then you can actually change these colors to whatever you want just by clicking it and picking the color. You can either pick the color from here, or you can put in here that you want that to be red, and that will change that color. So yeah, or you can change this scale, but be real careful about changing your color ramp, because once you start messing around with your color ramp, it could change other things. So like I'm going to change that color ramp, but then I'm going to invert it, and then I'll click apply and click OK, and now that's an inverted color ramp for the time. So that's a way to kind of mess with your labels and your coloring and stuff. And you can change the coloring and labels of all these maps, and then when you do, you can copy the style and paste it into other maps. You can save the styles. You can do all kinds of things with these layers and these styles. Now, so that's MapCrafter. Now let's do it one more time. I'm gonna pause the video and open the self-help kit in the regular project to show you how to do MapCrafter on a project folder.